On March 24th, Ukrainian and U.S. delegations met to discuss proposals to protect energy facilities and critical infrastructure, according to Ukraine's defense minister. This is part of a larger diplomatic push by U.S. President Donald Trump to bring an end to 3 years of conflict between Ukraine and Russia. The meeting, held in Saudi Arabia, came ahead of talks between the U.S. and Russian delegations scheduled for Monday. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff expressed optimism about the prospects of ending Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said his country's delegation was working in a completely constructive manner, adding that the discussions were quite useful and the delegation's work was ongoing. However, Zelensky stressed that no matter the discussions, the key to peace was getting Russian President Vladimir Putin to give a real order to stop the strikes. Heading Ukraine's delegation was Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, who emphasized that the goal of these talks was to bring a just peace closer and strengthen security. However, Zelensky described the talks as essentially technical.
Today marks the second meeting between the Ukrainian and U.S. teams in Saudi Arabia, this time at a more technical level. Our military, our diplomats, and our representatives from the Ministry of Energy. I just spoke with Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. He briefed me on the meeting and the course of the negotiations. Our team is working in a completely constructive manner. The conversation is quite useful. The work of the delegations is continuing. Now, after the last meeting in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah, it is absolutely clear to everyone in the world that Russia is the only one prolonging this war. The only one who brought it here and who needs it to continue. Since March 11th, there has been a proposal for an unconditional ceasefire, and such attacks would have already stopped. But it is Russia that continues all of this. And every night, every day, it carries out the most cynical strikes. Without pressure on Russia, they will continue in Moscow to disregard true diplomacy and keep destroying lives.
Just last week, Putin agreed to Trump's proposal for a 30-day ceasefire, halting attacks on energy infrastructure. But the ceasefire quickly became uncertain as both sides continued reporting attacks. In fact, overnight, a large-scale Russian drone attack on Kyiv killed at least 3 people, including a 5-year-old child, sparking fires in high-rise buildings and causing significant damage across the capital. Russian authorities reported shooting down 59 Ukrainian drones targeting the southwestern regions, with 1 person killed in Rostov. Despite ongoing attacks and Russia's advances in eastern Ukraine, Zelensky has supported Trump's call for a broader 30-day ceasefire. Trump stated on Saturday that efforts to control the escalation of the Ukraine-Russia war were somewhat under control. The U.S. hopes to reach a broader ceasefire within weeks, aiming for a truce agreement by April 20th, according to sources familiar with the planning. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz revealed on Sunday that the U.S. is exploring a range of confidence-building measures, including discussions about the future of Ukrainian children taken into Russia. Waltz explained that after agreeing to a Black Sea ceasefire, the next step would be to address the line of control, or the actual front lines. However, Trump's communications with Putin have raised concerns among European leaders, who fear that the U.S. may be turning its focus away from Europe in hopes of securing a broader peace deal with Russia, potentially covering oil prices, the Middle East, and competition with China. In response, Britain and France are ramping up military and logistical support for Ukraine, with several nations announcing plans to increase defense spending to reduce reliance on the U.S. Meanwhile, Witkoff downplayed concerns that any peace deal in Ukraine would embolden Putin to invade neighboring countries.